Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Corey Earl Widmeyer. I thought I'd just do a little quick walkthrough with the layout that we have, and thought I'd put my face to it so you guys could all see who you're looking at and where the chuckles are coming from. Yeah, so we'll get to the word Earl a long time from where that came from. That came from my work, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. But one thing I do want to mention is that you guys might notice that my videos are a little bit shaky, that kind of thing. I have shoulder injuries, and I'm holding a Tablet A, a Galaxy Tablet A, when I'm doing these, so kind of holding it for a little while really gives it some strain on my shoulders. So I'm trying to do a couple things a little bit different. I found some kind of a little cheap handheld holder for the tablet itself, so maybe this might make things a little bit better. But yeah, we'll go from there, and we'll come right back, guys. So here's the little dollar store handheld thing I purchased. You can see the coat hanger wire is what I did to extend it. The original little silver steel wire was what it was. It was a just meant for picking up cell phones. But yeah, the bottom end of it, if I can push it out. There it is. There's the spring. There's a spring, and then the end, a little brass fitting, that was threaded onto the ends of these. But I just bent the rod, made it fit, and then I soldered those on with just regular solder, and they work great. So that's, kind of gives me something, a little one-handed free thing, because holding this tablet's a little hard sometimes. But yeah, that's pretty fun. So we're back at this layout. Now, this is the one we have at home in our basement. It's a little bit of an evolution. It's changed 3 times, 2 drastically, and then add-ons. I did do a video of evolution of trains. You could check on that one if you want and just see kind of where we went. That's kind of how everybody evolves when they're doing trains. I did another video of just a walkthrough on this layout, and it was, I didn't speak, I didn't say nothing, I just went through it and kind of thing, and it really didn't show anybody what was happening or anything like that. So, but I want to get down to the basics. Our control, we use Digitrax control systems. We initially had a DB150 is what we bought, and it's hiding way down underneath over there. And then at one point we came across a fellow who was selling all his trains and everything, and had all really nice new stuff, but he had a DB, or is it a DB? What is it called? The DCS 100. And that gave us the ability to really kind of split this apart. We have them both doing 2 different jobs. The DCS 100 does the main layout on the bottom. And again, sorry about the shaking, but I'm trying to make it a little bit better. And then the DB150 ended up, we split it so that anything's going upward and up into the inclines and on the 2nd level and on the 3rd level, that it controls that for a breaker system anyway. So that way not everything is on it all at once. One thing that we want to do is this engine yard area that we have right here. We want to separate it so that we can select the power to this. We haven't done that yet. We've looked at it, and it's a fairly simple thing. And Jason at Railfan Man, he did me a diagram of how he separated his over a year ago, and did toggle switches and that kind of stuff. Up at the CN Silver Creek Slub, they have some rotary switches that have a selectable up to like 6 or 8 different tracks. So I'm going to probably use one of those because they pulled those out, and I'm going to put it over there. That's it for the moment. We'll come right back to this. And so our layout down here was originally about 7 feet by 23 feet, I do believe. Sorry, I shouldn't say originally. This is where we're at now. Before, I had a 10 foot by 14 feet square one, but it just kind of took up more space over on the wife's side and against the back, so we decided to go vertically instead of a square, and it kind of worked out a little bit better. So it was a point to point on the bottom shelf, and it started over here, and I'll come over here. Not necessarily what was here. We thought this would be the oil refinery area at first, but it ended up being the coal. But I'll just quickly run around just the trackage in that, and not what's there. So we had point to point. The main base section for starting in and out, ladder yard and all that stuff was over here, and then we ended up coming around. As we came, we would come around and zip around over here. Now, originally, right there in the back, I had built a double crossover with 4 number 6s. I still have it, and but it found to be problematic with the engines going up and down. So we just took it out and changed our position of going. And then when we looped around this way, it was into, a couple yards. We planned out a couple different sceneries for different yards, and how it came along, and then another holding storage classification yard at this end. And we weren't too sure what would be what, but we knew we would need 2 ends. Again, stub ends, one end being right there, and the other end being right here. Right. Initially, my thoughts were with our other layout was that there was going to be a duck under here, and that's with our first layout. That was really bad to do because you had to literally crawl underneath. This is only 3 feet up, right? So that was the worst part of it, and so this is why we did the redesign of this whole thing. From there, when we come around to going up, we knew we were going to come up at least once. And so we planned on coming up and making these grades to go up. And one end goes up on this side and travels around. And what it was is I didn't want to do a duck under, or I didn't want to do some that I had to crawl under. And I didn't have enough room for a helix. So the only thing was to basically do an incline and come up to the top here. And then we had a second basically our runaround at the top end. And you can see that when we came up, let me just slowly back around. This was the biggest problematic thing that we had. We only have 13 feet here, basically, from where we started with the incline. And actually the incline goes a little bit more because we moved it to the double crossover over here. But basically our incline started, basically the middle of the wall right here at the back. And from there, this is 13 feet, and, oh geez, I'm sorry, I can't remember how high we came up. I think like 50 inches. I'll get out a tape measure and I'll put that in there in a minute. Actually, give me a minute here and I'll pause that out. All right, so I did a little bit of measuring, and yeah, this is 57 inches, the space right here. 57 inches to the top of the rail, basically, and then it's 64 to the next height up above there. Ooh, you see another engine's in there. And basically, coming off of the deck, from the main deck, the height where this reaches the top rail was 16 inches. We initially were going to go up like even another 4 or 5 more inches, 20 inches high off the deck, and that just was way too high of a grade for anything to go up. It was impossible. So at this point, that 13 feet going up 16 inches, I think it gives us an incline of almost 7.5%. And that is just nastiness. Nobody should ever do that, but we did. So bringing up any kind of sets of engines with cars, it's usually 3 large motor power 3-axled engines for every run that goes up here. And I think that's where it started, and Adam into buying all the engines that he buys. Just engine after engine after engine. Like, I mean, you can just see. what we got on the go everywhere. We get this whole end, and then most of this end, and then we got boxes of stuff. Adam's got stuff put away so that we can still have stuff sitting out. From there, just initially it was just this run up in here, everything contained. We made a nice crossover up inside here. I got a couple other pictures of that. That was a nice crossover we did with two numbers, I think number 8s. And then that came back around on this side, and then so we split it again, and then you came back down. From this side, it was actually, a good 20 feet, because we started the decline right away as you came down. And then that continued, and that was a much more softer grade. I think it's about 5, maybe 6 degrees of a grade, but you can see it continues all the way around as we come around, and then back down into the back side of the one half of the staging. And then that track disappears in behind the wheat factory, and then comes down and terminates at the end. I did it so that we could have maybe an escape for at least 2 engines on the end. They can come out, escape out of there, and get out of here into the yard very carefully. Of course, large 3-axle engines don't like some of these shorter number 4 switches, so you have a speed limit when you're in here. You got to make sure you take your time. But that was that. So at that point, we were happy with it and ran around and kind of stuff. And then the next thing came along, and we'll come back to that. Hey, everybody. So this is where the expansion started. And on the other side of the laundry room, I had a bunch of shelves and stuff like that sitting right here. And Adam, in his infinite wisdom, looked at it and says, "Dad, you know what? That's our layout over here matches that shelf that's sitting right there." I went, "Well, it kind of does." But at first, Adam was just thinking coming across. And we were just going to scoot across with the hole that we got dug here, the little rat hole. And we were going to come across, and we were going to go, sorry, there's a big post right in the way. We were going to go through the wall right there and go into the upper living room, and it would have been only like 18 inches off the floor. So we, thought that we would run that train around and go underneath the computer desks all on the back wall, and we would have like maybe 2 trains that we could set out up here. Well, that became an unrealistic thing to do. And I even put that in my evolution of trains where I went through the wall, and it's like, I don't think this is a good idea. We were babysitting our grandchildren, and, little fingers grab onto stuff. So we kind of nixed that idea. But then Adam goes, "But yeah, you know what, Dad, though? It does match right along that shelf." And I said, "Yeah, you know what? I like it too." And so we initially extended our layout, and this was one of our bigger projects, was building these curves and putting in all the tortoises with them and having everything in there. We use the code 83. Sorry, I didn't mention that. On the lower level, everything was code 100. When we bought this guy's batch of a lot that he had all kinds of 83, and we decided we would use 83 on the upper level. And we'll never go back to code 100. 83 is the best way to go. Whether it's Pico or Walthers or whatever, whoever has it, 83 is just basically good running track. But anyways, when we come into any of the oversized tracks, we run in with re-railers like this. That helps you re-rail anything that's kind of having a problem as you come into your staging tracks. We really like that idea. But anyways, this was initially just a staging track. And it was to come down all the way down here to the end and just terminate over top of the washer. And that's what we had. And I think I went past these pipes and I came up to right here to this point, which is just above the dryer right here. And I didn't want to go any further. We got the vent for the dryer vent, and it's the corner, and I didn't want to go any further. So we got that far. And of course, it wasn't good enough. Adam bugged, and I looked at it, and it's like I really did want a continuous run. I did want to get all the way through. So we looked at it some more, and we looked at it some more, and this is just a little fake wall I built here. It's a 2x4 wall. It's just aesthetic where it's sitting there. I had some panels to throw up on it, keep it solid away from the wife, and I can hang up some more stuff, and she can have a little table here and everything. We even moved the hot water heater when we had some work done, just to tuck it over here, because it actually was like right here, right beside the dryer. It was right where those baskets were. So it was nice to get it tucked up and moved over to the other side. I even had the power cord moved and everything. So, but anyways, our initial was the lower hole, and that went through there, and then that allowed us to connect to the other half of the first layer. And we were happy with that. And that was pretty good. All right. And then so now we're back over on the other side of the hole. And like before, initially this was just a corner, a rounded piece, and then we came through, and so we ended up throwing in a switch. And at this time we were pretty comfortable using the smails, so we hooked up the smail, got it in there, and had our lights to it. You can see that we got a light down over there. I've lighted a lot of them, and there's more I need to go back and relight. But anyways, that gave us an option of basically coming up from the main deck. When you come like this, and you can come around to the label post, or post label, I forget what I called it. And you could choose to go through, go over to the other side, and then stay on the back side, basically north track, and go all the way down around, and you can stay in the loop up here by switching that switch 14, or you can switch 14, which is down there, and go through the tunnel and go into the laundry room. That made it so you had either a small loop or a large loop. And to keep the train out of sight, basically, put it into a storage on the other side if we want, whatever. On this side, it was just basically you were running a loop and there was nowhere to stop. So, and that's why Adam wanted the storage on that side. And it worked. If you come up from the main deck and you come around on the switch, oh yeah, that's right. You have to come through. You go through first. Sorry. That's right, I remember now. You got to go through one whole loop up here. And then when you come back around to this side, you're on the south track right here. Oh, sorry, right here. So your north track there, south track here. Once you come around on the south track, that's why we put the crossover. So you can either put yourself back into that loop and stay in there, or you can throw the switch, and we just did them as hand throws. There it is right there. And then that would bring you back down to the main deck again. And then at that point, that was considered, time out. You bring your train and everything down, and then it gets broken up and set out again. So that was the basic premises of these two. And then Adam, again, persevered, and he said, but you know what? We have all this extra work, extra lumber, and he says, how about we make another layer? Look, it's so easy that we could just make another layer, and we can go up and do a big Y. We could do a big staging yard and Y at the same time. And of course, my wife complained. and I didn't listen. And so I added. We thought about it and we looked at it, and I bought some more stuff and realized that how am I going to do this? The biggest thing was how am I going to support this outer line? And the only way was thinking about it was just threaded rod. And I can't tell you enough, threaded rod and some, I made these brackets all out of some steel plate and steel punchings that we have at work. And I can't tell you, I can hang off of that and it doesn't budge. Especially this corner right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them just right there in that corner. You can't even move that. And you can get it served a little bit of a double duty then, because then it supported the lower deck as it went around the corner too. So it was a good fit. You can see that. So we used 3/4 inch furniture grade plywood. It's a product that my work uses, and these are all cutoffs. This is all waste material, and you know I'm lucky to be exposed to be able to get material like this. A lot of this stuff came from my work. Even the plexiglass that you see when COVID hit, and we had to make a whole bunch of dividers for everybody in the lunchrooms and that stuff. This was all waste material, and they were going to throw it out. So you know, just being frugal about it, I managed to score a lot of nice stuff that helped me out in building the layout down here. So anyways, what I was getting back at was, so when I had the 3/4 inch to get it to bend, I put a bunch of relief cuts in it, and that allowed it to bend down and flex down, and that allowed it to flex up too at the same point right here. There's another spot that I did right here. And that worked out really nice. That allowed the grade to go up really nice and smooth, and then finish off at the top end over there. So that's how we got around it over here on this end. And you know, we planned it out and everything like that. We bought the PSX AR to do our reversing loop, which is all hooked up right over there. And I think I talked about it in another video that we had to use the just a regular tortoise, because the AR is a decoder, and you couldn't use a smale with it because it didn't like that. But then on the top deck, we just have north and south tracks. So you go one way. If you go to the tunnel on your right, you're going down the north track. Or north direction, I should say. If you take the tunnel to the left, you're going to go south, is how we kind of designated, which way we're going. The signal on it that we put for the LED, those are 5mm diffused red and green LEDs. They're kind of hard to come by now, unless you look around for them. But green is always going north, and then red was coming back on the south, and that says the same thing on the other side for that switch anyways, for that direction on the AR. Green for regular, everything else is just straight through mainline. Red is a diverging anywhere else. So yeah, let me when I say red and green, another thing is that these smales that I have, kind of hard to see the little light control that I have on them. They were just from an electronics store, but they're green yellow, and they were good enough for us to use. I wish they were green red, but green yellow worked. So green being mainline, yellow mean diverging. So that's where that came from. Maybe a little bit confusing for some, but I think it's pretty simple anyways. But yeah, so getting back over to here, I'm going to go under my duck under just a little. And then come back around to when you come through on the top side of the staging yard, right? This is the AR on the other side here. So you're going to come in, if you come in on the north track, you're going to come around and curve in. And then on this side, I think we got 5 tracks. And they ran all the way down. We pre-assembled those just, before we ever put them up. So that was a pretty easy way to do that. Do all the pre-assembly, make sure everything lines up. We did a jig to do it. And then so after we built the first curved corner with all the switches, this is where we did the same thing. We did another curved corner. And you can see, they turned out really well. And again, We use the Code 83 re-railers once you came out of the curves, just to keep everything simple. And then everything came down to a choke point of one side. Here it is on the other side. Just because it was narrow enough that we weren't going to keep two sets of tracks. We wanted one that broke in both directions. You could break it up. A bunch of Adam's engines that he's either got no decoders or he's doing some rework. Kind of bad when you buy a bunch of engines and then you want to start doing modifications to them, and all of a sudden everything gets put on hold. I think this side here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is the 6 side. So main line plus 5. The other side is main line plus 4. And you can see, oh yeah, his Twin Sticks logo that he gave me. That right there. That was a perfect spot for it too. So anyways, that's where the smells, they all control all of those. So the track numberings continued on from over there. It was basically 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then it was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is behind the post, right back there, and then 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then when we go back around to the other side, sorry for going so fast, way back down there, that was 14. And then 15, I think, is this guy over here. Oh, that's 17. So 15 is on the other side. Yeah, 15 is on the other side with the, on the first line. On the other side of that, over there's 15, and then 16 actually did the switch to go up, and then 17 is this one. Now this is what's unique about over on this side here. We did one run around. We thought that we would do it as a flip switch, but then we decided no, we'll just put it on a smale because it worked out better. So track 1 on the south side, technically, over here, is a runaround. So if you got stuck or something like that, we always try to keep track 1 open along with the main, but doesn't mean that we can't fill it up anyway. So, and that way you can do a quick runaround if you have to change direction and want to go the other way with your engines. Even though it is a AR, it gives us the ability to do so. And then over on this side, these two sets of lights both coincide with the light on the other side of the AR, telling us, which way it's actually switched. And you can see right now it's green is going to be on the north track. And if this was thrown around, it'd be opposite way, obviously. And we would have a green on the south side. And you can even select the AR. We identified it as number 999, switch number 999. And we can manually throw that, or we can select it on our controllers and then throw it when the train is going up. I talked about the command, the digital command. We have the DT402s and the 400s for the handle throttles. The DT402 and 400. I have a utility throttle, the UTD4, and also this is a tethered one, which is radio. And I also have a couple tethered ones, non-tethered, because that's the radio command. And then I do have a couple tethered ones, but we also do have a one radio receiver over here, a UP5. That is the universal receiver for the UP5. And that one will give us the infrared for the thing. That connection there is so that Adam can use the Wi-Fi and talk to his cell phone and stuff like that. So that works out really well. Yeah, all the UP5 panels, we initially just had them hooked up to track and to, daisy chain them together. And then I eventually figured out, well, why not hook them up to track power so I see track status so we know what power is on. So they do turn on. I don't have them on yet. The track is on, but I don't have power turned on yet. I'll do that here in a minute. So, the little cool thing about this dollar store stand that I found, I actually modified it, I'll show a picture of that later, is that it actually acts as a little tiny tripod too, so I can go hands-free. I'm reaching around it here, so it's kind of a funny way to look at it, but this helps you see it. So my track power is not on, so if I press power, we do have a couple engines that have an automatic startup, which is my RS3, by the way. He's a noisy one right now. And I'll just set that down for a minute. And my Shoeline RS3. This was an Atlas Classic, and I initially put in just a DSAR NCE decoder, and then I found a Tsunami sound for this, and so I put in the sound and the speakers. So it runs really nice. I just got to adjust some of the volumes, but I really love the RS3. It's really nice, and this paint scheme's really cool too. So I really like that. Quiet down. Well, I'll enter him. That turned on 308. But I'm going to turn down the RS3. There we go. Now he's quiet. There we go. That's the RS3 quiet. Get him out of my way. But he's still... I have to have him on. I think that's the brass bell for him. An old shipping horn kind of thing. Changes directions, changes lights. Power on. You can hear his air brake hissing and all that kind of stuff. It's really nice. Stop him. Switch directions. Oh, I told him to switch directions. There it is. And he has brake squeal too if he's going fast enough. There we go. Okay. I'll turn him down so that I don't hear him anymore. So now you can see that the UP5's panels, they're active with the power on. So I have them on a plugged-in separate power supply, and then basically daisy chain them all together to that power supply, and that would be this guy right here, right there. And so that goes around and it daisy chains to all of them, and it worked out really nice. So I don't have to use track power to power them, so that they know that they're getting track power by the daisy chain of the command signal. So, oh yeah, there's my tethered one. I got two of these guys, the UT4s. Sorry, the UT4s. I really like these throttles. They're good for basic control. If you're just doing a switcher in the yard, you don't need a whole lot of stupid things. You're just running back and forth, horn and brake. That's it, kind of stuff. So, all right. Hopefully. So here I have my UP5 panel. I pulled it out. I just wanted to show you guys the wiring that I did to it. As I said earlier, that I did a power bus line to the UP5 itself, and then it has track power. Well, I'll just kind of show you what it is. The track power is actually these two on the very back, and it doesn't matter what north or south pole, south line you put it onto. That gives the signal that it tells you got track power. Once you do that and turn on the power to the track, then you get the light that comes on. These two right here they were for the jack plug on the side. And sorry if it jiggles a little. You can see the jack plug on the side. Sorry, right there is the jack plug. But like I said, I daisy chained these all together. So instead of having a whole bunch of jack plugs, I just spliced into the main line of the power supply for the UP5s, and then I soldered onto both sides, on the left and right side of the jack plug itself, and that's how I daisy chain them all coming down along the line. The two plugins at the back are an in and out for daisy chaining, and then the one on the side is a purely an out, so that you can daisy chain out every time. This could be anything, but these could be in and out, and no matter what. But this is always an out, and this one is the end up here on the west side staging. So if I zoom out, this is my end of my west side staging, but that output goes across over there to the UP5 panel that's over there, right where my finger is pointing. And so I got that running down and around the stairs and over and back up, and then it goes to that UP5 panel over there. And that was a critical line to get over there. So, but yeah, hope that explains some things. Hey, so I thought I'd talk a little bit of getting back to the Earl and where that all came from. That was back in the day when I worked at the place I'm at. I've been there for 36 years. It's a local window manufacturing company here in southern Ontario. And, back in those days in the early 80s, and well, it was late 80s when I started, and then mid 90s and that kind of stuff. It was at a time when nicknames were fun and games, and it was a rite of passage to have a nickname and any kind of thing like that. And I had actually been working there like almost 13 years before I ever actually got Earl put into it. But I had ended up going into the door department, and I was in there the one time, and one of the guys in there, he's watching me work away, and I always came in with this red plaid shirt, much more deeper, darker red plaid, long sleeve shirt that I always came in with. And one day the guy looks and he says, "Oh, look at that! He looks like Earl from the dinosaurs, right?" And that was it. That stuck, right? Earl, the dinosaurs was a TV show that was in the mid '90s. It was animatronic live action. It was actually formed from Jim Henson before he passed away, and then his son took it on after that. But it only lasted for a couple years. But it was a pretty funny thing. But the main character was Earl Sinclair, I think the name was, and he was a T-Rex dinosaur, right? And then there was a family of dinosaurs that lived in a modern age of different things, but it was Earl that led to that, because he was a big dinosaur. I'm a big guy, I'm 200 pounds, 200 plus, and it was like one of the guys, he says, "Yeah, he looks like Earl, he's lumbering around, swinging his tail, smashing everything, kind of thing." And that's what it was. So it was pretty funny. And then it kind of came more fitting when not that it was good, but I had my shoulder injuries, and then everything I did, I can't lift above or anything like that. So it was like Earl the dinosaur, and to this day, it's kind of funny because I'm old school, I'm old man, I'm old like a dinosaur. So, it's every time somebody has something to say about Earl, it's like Earl the dinosaur, kind of thing. But yeah, pretty funny. There was even McDonald's came out with these little figurines, and they were those ones that had the little air pneumatic things. You did them, and they did different things. And my Earl, he did a little shaky dance. So that every time I finished a unit, I'd press the button and he'd do a little shaky dance, because he did what he was doing. So, but yeah, that's old school stuff. There was like Fly, and there was Bubbles, and there was Bones, and one of the guys is Weasel. Yeah, and those were the days when people weren't offended by nicknames, and people weren't woke, so per se. So, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We had good times. Can't get those days back, but it was a lot of fun. And